happy campers, Todd here, Great American RV SuperStores. Today we're doing a technical walkthrough on the brand Jayco North Point fifth wheel by Jayco. We're going to be doing the technical part of things, which includes operation, right? So we're going to go through how the jacks work, how your slide out systems work, overrides for a lot of these options, so on and so forth. We're going to do exterior and interior and give you a lot of tips and tricks along the way. We have a lot more videos that take a deeper dive on some of these components in the helpful hacks section of our Great American RV YouTube channel. You might also find down in the comments some other links on particular components here made by those manufacturers like Dexter and our Tow Assist. We'll give you a little information on that, but they also have great videos there. You can find those links in our description section down below, so check that out. In the meantime, let's go ahead and start in the front. If you have any questions along the way, leave them in that comments section. Starting in the front, we have, of course, our front cap, right? We have lights up there, have a little light right here at our kingpin. Both of those switches are located right here. And look, this particular floor plan is going to be different from every other floor plan, right? Everyone, switches and stuff might be located in different spots. Your generic stuff like lights and stuff on your front cap are going to be located in the same place, but some of your other controls may not, and some of them may vary depending on your trim level as well. So keep that in mind. If we don't cover it in this video, I'm sure we have a video on that particular component somewhere in our helpful hacks section. If we don't, let us know and we'll make it. All right, so we talked about that. We have our kingpin right here. Talked about where you hook your fifth wheel hitch up, right? It's always a good idea to do a pull test after you've locked in before you retract your jacks there at the bottom. I've seen a lot of these fall onto the bed of trucks and it doesn't turn out well. So speaking of hooking up, you're going to have your 7-way plug tucked up under there. Your 7-way plug carries all of your turn signals from your towing vehicle to your camper. There are no inline fuses on the camper side. They're all going to be on your car. If you look in your owner's manual, you're going to find on the fuse section, trailer brake lamp left, trailer brake lamp right, running lights for trailer, so on and so forth. Those are what you're going to be looking for. All that passes through your 7-way on the back of your truck and then passes through here straight to your lights. You're also going to have a battery charge line through here that will charge your batteries off the alternator of your car straight to your batteries on your camper to help keep those charged up while you're traveling. And then you're also going to have your brake controller that will send a signal to activate your brakes on your trailer passing through here as well. You're also going to have a breakaway right here. This breakaway box is a safety switch right here. If we pull this down, this needs to be connected somewhere in the bed of your truck, not on your fifth wheel hitch itself. In the event your fifth wheel hitch kingpin ever fails, becomes disconnected, this cable should stay with your truck and pull that pin out of that box. If you have a properly charged 12-volt battery with power on it, it will now activate the brakes on your trailer and bring it to a stop. So we always want to make sure that pin is clicked in all the way, otherwise it could be activating the brakes on your trailer. Once again, 12-volt powered safety device right there. We want to make sure we have it locked in. As we go into this front kingpin compartment right here, we're going to start on the top. We see our hydraulic tank. This hydraulic tank covers our hydraulic leveling on this unit. On your particular unit, you may have 1 or 2 slides that are hydraulic that it may involve as well. We can see our tank there in the back. The tank has a cap on the top. That cap is where we check our fluid level for our hydraulics. Now we only want to check that when everything is retracted. That's when we check the level to see if it's full. If we have something extended and we add hydraulic oil to this, when we fully retract everything, it could overflow that system. So you never check to see if it's full if you have anything at all extended out. So retract all your jacks, your slide outs and stuff, then you check to see if you have the proper level. Now this does have an override for it for the jack system and for slides. If you have a slide out, we have a video that takes a deeper dive into that. If we look straight through here, that is where our override is, where that sticker is. But there's a few other steps that involve our solenoids and everything on that as well. It is a 12-volt system. Power for that is going to run from our batteries. One of these two breakers right here is going to be powered off of that. And if they are ever tripped, we'll see the little yellow lever sticking out right there to reset it. Just click it in and it will reset. We'd test with a test light, ground it out, and make sure we had 12 volts on both sides as well to see that we have power coming in. Have a large battery bank right here, so we can put multiple batteries in here if we want to operate off of solar. And have that 12 volt bank powered up. We have an inverter system. We can kick that inverter in on and do a lot of dry camping. You have plenty of room for that. Of course, we're also prepped and ready to install a generator in here. And of course, we have our box where our 110 would go over to our transfer switch to be able to be activated if we had that generator. Besides that, just storage up in this area. We'll notice as we move over to the right on the driver's side, we'll talk about our slide outs real quick before we go into the compartments. Mainly on your front slides over your cabin area, over your fifth wheel area, you're going to generally have a Schwintek slide, identifiable by our gear rack right here on the bottom and the top. And that is an electric slide. We have motors on both sides. We have videos for overrides on this in our helpful hacks section. We're going to show you where this particular board is located and where it may be located for that override. It's going to be in that pass-through compartment, generally on all these floor models with the slide out Schwintek slide here in the front. As I move on, I'll point out we are prepped for Furrion 3-camera system if we want to add them on both sides to cover our blind spots. They are ready and prepped for that. Now for your rear slide outs, they're going to be either electric or hydraulic, right? So the Ram system down here that you see is going to be fairly similar on both of them. You're either going to have an electric or a hydraulic, and that piston right there will run and operate it in and out. If it's hydraulic or electric, everything is going to be in that underbelly, really not much to see. If it is electric, you're generally going to have a post sticking out on your frame, and that is your override to be able to run that slide out in and out in the event that the motor fails, or you have access in your underbelly. We can see some are cut out right here to be able to gain access to that motor and override it there. They have a little nut 3/4 inch socket put on there with an impact or a turn handle, and you can run that in and out. If it's hydraulics, once again, it would go back to that reservoir we had in the front and a solenoid involved in all that. So you would want to go to that other video to check the override on that. 12 volt operated if it's electric. Of course, if it's hydraulic, you'd need 12 volts in the hydraulics, right? So keep that in mind for any overrides for the slide outs. There is maintenance involved in all that. On all of your slide outs, you want to make sure that you check out those maintenance videos in our helpful hacks section as well. Here on the side in front of our compartment, we're going to notice our tow assist right here. Let's go over some information on that right now. This is our Dexter tow assist right here. We have this, and this light is going to let you know when it is active. To operate it, it's real simple. You plug your 7-way in, you push on the brakes on your towing vehicle, and it will go through its self-check. Takes about 5 seconds. You may see the lights changing colors, but everything, the top one should go green and stay green. If it doesn't, then we have a problem. Either it's going to be amber or green and amber, and we need to check that out. So we do that by downloading our Dexter Tow Assist app, and we can link it up through Bluetooth to our Dexter system, and we can see what our warning is and possibly reset it, fix it, give you some diagnostics on what's going on right there. So what your Dexter Tow Assist actually does is it is an ABS system, so that keeps your brakes on your unit from locking up and gives you a good even stopping through all your wheels. Also add in sway mitigation, which reduces the sway as you're traveling down the road. And then it also gives you an odometer so you can keep up with maintenance on your unit. There's plenty of videos about that tow assist system, but there's not a whole lot that you can dig into on it, but you can find more information at Dexter TV which is on YouTube. You'd find a few more videos on it. But like I said, it's a plug and play. You hook it up to your phone to get a little more information on it. As long as it stays green, you're good. All right, in our first compartment after that, we have our dual propane tanks. On this particular unit, we have a third one on the opposite side that ties into it as well. And we're gonna notice our dual propane regulator system. So on this system, you'll see a lever there at the top that has an arrow pointing. You also have a gauge on here. Green is good, red is empty, and that is going to be in relation to whatever tank we have that lever pointed to. Now we'll have both of these tanks on, and right now we're on this tank. You run your propane. Once it runs down to empty, this indicator will turn red, and then it will start pulling off of this tank right here without even having to swap your lever over. Now still showing indication of red because we are on this tank. You can go ahead and swap it over. Your indicator will change if this has enough fuel in there to show that it's good, and then you can go ahead and get this one refilled, added back in there. That now becomes your secondary tank. A real simple system right there, but both tanks have to be on in order for that to work. We'll also notice in here in the back, we have our battery disconnect. Now our battery disconnect is used when we are storing our unit unplugged, not in use. We want to turn that disconnect off. That way we are conserving the battery power on our unit. Now anytime we're plugged in or using our unit, we need to have that on so our 12 volts is filtering through our unit, so we actually have that in order to operate it, right? Also on here, we're going to notice a push to reset button on there. That is a 50 amp breaker on this system. In the event that anything ever overamps that system, that button will push out to reset it. Just push it and it will reset. So off if we're unplugged and storing our unit, on for pretty much everything else. As we move on, we'll notice in our first compartment right here, we see on the top located, we have our override for our Schwintek system. There's a little button in there for the override. We also have directions on the board itself. And we have that video you want to check out as well. There's two different videos. The first one you want to watch is how to operate that override and a few tips and tricks. Now, if you don't see it openly accessible along the floor line here, it may be behind one of these panels. You can see they're all screwed in and stuff. It may be behind one of those. You might have to just pop it off, but generally it's going to be located in this middle pass-through bay for any front slides. That is our inverter right here, big silver box. What an inverter does is it changes 12 volts to 110. So if we're dry camping somewhere, we don't have a plug-in and we don't have generator power, we kick that on and it will feed off of our battery bank, of course, as long as it has voltage, and provide us with 110 for appliances within our unit. We can turn that on and off from the inside. We'll go over that. Or you can turn it on and off from right here, but we do have that remote wire plugged in, so we have a remote on the inside. We can operate it from there. Down below that, we have our Nuvo H2O water filtration system. You're gonna have a filter on the inside of each one of these cartridges that you need to monitor and change. We do have valves on it to be able to shut that off, but you also wanna make sure you depressurize your system, shutting all your water off and then going to open a faucet to depressurize it. Open these canisters and you can change out your filters. Also in here, you're going to notice, like I said, behind these panels, you have screws. You can pull them off, especially behind your water control panel. If we can squeeze in here, we can see all our plumbing and everything, a little spaghetti nest. But the main thing we want to look at is this is our water pump right here. Our water pump is used when we are dry camping and we don't have a water source. We have a fresh tank on board. We're going to show you how to fill that here shortly. And this will pull the water out of that fresh tank and provide it to our fixtures on the inside. It is 12 volt powered. We'll have a fuse on the inside. We'll show you later. But I want you to know where the location of this is, because you do need to provide maintenance to it and make sure that we are cleaning the screen on that pump. It will develop some algae and debris and stuff in there. We want to clean that on a regular basis to make sure we're not restricting our water flow in there. Besides that, not much else to worry about in here. You do want to check back of your fixtures and stuff. Make sure you don't have any drips or anything like that. Expansion and contraction of that cold weather, man, it'll loosen up some of those fittings. We can also see the back of our water heater, our furnace, and stuff like that in here as well. And as we tuck back out, we'll see our controls for our water system, our auto level, and all that. So right now, let's touch on our auto level, and then we'll go over our water system right here. So our auto level is our little button right there. What does that do? Well, it controls the auto level on our unit. We have that 6-point hydraulic leveling system on here. Well, that's what controls it. To turn it on, hit these 2 buttons off to the side, green light will come on. If we go down, our unit goes down. If we go up, our unit goes up. Now, generally, you're gonna use those arrows to drop your front landing gears up and down whenever you are disconnecting your unit. Once you disconnect, okay, your truck is free and clear, hit that auto level button, let it do its thing, and level out your unit. When you're done camping, you come back and you hit hitch height. It should go back to the exact same position that it was in whenever your truck disconnected from it, so you can back right on in. Once you've done that pull test, everything's good, you're hooked up, you can hit retract all, and all of your jacks are gonna come up on that system. If you ever forget anything, the cheat sheet right here is generally on the compartment doors or somewhere inside your unit. It will also give you the status of some of these blinking lights from that LED. Now, if we get a code on here, some kind of error, that's going to be shown on our touch panel on the inside. You'd have to go in there generally to find out what that fault is. All right, we got all that under control. We have solar on the side. That is a plug-in right there. You do have solar panels up top on the roof, but if they're blocked by trees and stuff, you can go ahead and purchase that solar on the side, plug it in right there. And that's a separate panel you can pretty well put anywhere within reach of the cord to be able to provide solar to your unit. As we move down, we see our 2 black tank and our gray tank handles. Now, you may have a separate tank system on your unit with more handles somewhere else towards the rear, depending on how many tanks you have, but primarily they're gonna be right here if you only have 2. So for this, you have your little 4-inch connection right here on the side. Both of those tanks are gonna dump out of that. So you have to hook up your 4-inch sewer line, have it to your dump station or your site if they have a dump station there, and then you would dump your tanks. Now, the important thing to remember is for black tanks, that is our sewage. That's everything from our toilet, our liquids, our solids, and our toilet paper, right? So we want to keep that tank closed all the time until we are ready to dump. Reason why is we always want to make sure we have several gallons of water in that tank. If we don't, the solids in there are going to solidify and they're very difficult to get out. You don't want to have a dry tank because that is an expensive repair. Sometimes the tanks end up just having to be replaced. So we want to make sure that we leave that closed. When we are ready to dump, we open it up, of course, making sure our line is hooked up there, and we start dumping. From there, we go ahead and hook our water hose up to our black tank flush right there. That's going to lead to a jet port on the other side of that black tank and help push the solids and everything that's in there out to our port right there. We have a video that goes over some tips and tricks for that black tank flush if you want to watch that, of course, on our helpful hacks section. After we are done flushing out our tank and we're satisfied, remember, we have to put several gallons of water back in there. Now, we can do that by closing this valve off for a minute or so and watching our tank monitor because you can overflow it if you don't pay attention. Close that off for a couple of minutes, add a couple gallons of water through your black tank flush, or disconnect your black tank flush, close this off, and hold down your pedal on your toilet to add the water that way. Then you want to add your chemicals. You're still going to have a little bit of debris in there. You want that water in there so that stuff doesn't solidify. And then also while you're traveling down the road, once you've added your chemicals, it'll slosh around, help clean any sensors that might have stuff stuck on them, giving you a false reading. And that chemical will help degrade anything that's left in there. Now, our gray tanks are going to be from our shower, our sinks, kitchen sink, stuff like that. Sometimes those are separated. You have one for your bathroom and then one for your kitchen in the rear. And those can stay open all the time. Of course, as long as we have our hose hooked up, they'd stay open all the time and drain out. I generally suggest that if you have multiple people in your unit, those gray tanks can fill up kind of quick. So we leave that open. I'll also give you a tip that a lot of people like to close it off on the last day. And that way you have a half a tank or so of soapy water, soapy cleanish water, I should say. It's going to be cleaner than your black tank. And what you can do is flush out your black tank. When you're done, open up your gray tank last, and that kind of helps clean out that sewer hose a little bit. That way it's somewhat clean compared to what it would be, right? So a little tip there, if you want to take it, go for it. Over to the right of that, we have our furnace accessible through our screws right here. If we have to do any maintenance to it, generally technicians are going to take care of that. It does need 12 volts to power up, and of course it's going to use propane to heat the air. We'll go over the operation of that on the inside. Below that, we're going to have our Suburban tanked water heater, and we can see we have an electric element down here. We're also gas powered right here. 12 volts to operate everything, 110 for the electric, and then of course gas to heat it off of gas, but 12 volts to operate anything on this. Now you may have a tankless water heater unit on here as well, just a different method. You're gonna have on-demand hot water rather than tanked water, and you'll still need 12 volts and gas to operate it. Only difference really in controls is how we operate it on the inside, and we have some information on that. So we'll move on to our leveling. We have leveling 6-point on this one, so it's going to be 6 of these jacks throughout our unit. That's going to help level it out. We talked about that with our auto level. As we move on down the side here, we're going to see a separate tank. So this one is going to be for our kitchen area. Like I said, separate output right here for a second hose, and then of course we're going to have another individual valve for that. Most of your units are also going to have a carrying spot for that sewer hose. You can go ahead and put in right there. Above that, we're going to have our 50-amp plug-in. 50-amp plug-in is going to go in, twist to the right to lock it in. You have that little ring right there. You want to tighten up, keep the kids from accidentally pulling it out, disrupting service. After you're plugged in right here, then you plug into your 50-amp service right there. If you plug that in first and then plug this in, you're going to cause arcing at this plug, and eventually this plug is going to get decayed, messed up. You're going to have issues. So good idea to plug it in here first, then over at your port at the campground. So just a little tip trick there. To be able to get it out, loosen your ring, turn it to the left, pull it out. As we move to the back, we have ladder that gains us access to our rubber roof up top. We have our AC, our solar panels, all that stuff up there, and we also have vents. Along our vents and down the side rails of our unit, we have sealant. We need to check that sealant every 60 to 90 days. We also need to check the condition of our roof every 60 to 90 days. You want to clean that roof at least once a year, if not twice. Make sure we're keeping it clean. Check for any holes from any tree limbs or anything we might have hit while we're traveling. Make sure we're maintaining that roof. It says it in your owner's manual, every 60 to 90 days, customer maintenance to take care of that. We're also taking care of our sealants on our trims, our sides, everywhere where we have sealant on our unit. We want to check it for any cracking, peeling, decay of any sort. Make sure we clean it and reseal with the proper sealant on our unit so we're not allowing water entry. Manufacturers aren't going to participate in any repairs that involve water entry if you are not maintaining your unit. One of the most neglected things that customers do when it comes to campers, please don't be that person. On the back, we're going to see we're pre-wired for backup camera. We can either choose the three-wire camera system, one on each side, or just one in the back to see behind us while we're towing or backing up. We're also going to see a receiver hitch here on the back for towing. We have a 4-way plug for a trailer. If we're pulling golf cart, boat, whatever the case may be, you have lights back here and your receiver hitch. Make sure we are abiding by our guidelines for our weight for that as well. As we move down the side right here, we're going to see our cable antenna port right here for our outdoor TV and a plug-in for it as well. Plug-in is going to be GFCI protected. We have some GFCI protected outlets on the interior. We'll show you where those are. If this isn't working, you want to go there first to make sure that it is not tripped, and because every wet location is going to have a GFCI protected outlet. Cable antenna from here, that cable input is over by our water bay and that pass-through bay right there, and the output is right here to our TV, and our antenna is going to cycle through here as well. We'll go over a little more information on that when we go to the inside. Down below that, we're going to have our J-port system, which is basically a receiver hitch. We can hook a grill, a TV stand, all kind of different stuff that Jayco has come up with for that. Down here, you're also going to have a LP port, this quick connect. If we pull that plug off, we can see a little quick connect. That quick connect, you'll have a male fitting for your grill. In order for it to quick connect, this valve right here needs to be in this off position. You can insert your male fitting, and then you have to turn it on for gas flow to come out. You're also going to have to turn it off to disconnect it as well. So a little safety feature there for connecting and disconnecting. I always suggest put that plug back in there. That way no dirt divers or anything build any nest in there. We'll notice our spare tire underneath. We'll see a post sticking out right there. You do have a hole in your J-wrap to access that. Put a crank handle on there and you can drop your spare tire down. We're going to see that little blue hose right there. Generally going to see a blue and a red hose sticking out of the bottom of your unit somewhere. That is your low point drains. We use that for winterization. When we are ready to winterize our unit, drain all the water out of it, and then fill it with antifreeze. You're going to go to your low point drains. You have information in your owner's manual, and of course we got you taken care of in another video on the HAPS Helpful Hacks section that takes a deeper dive on the winterization portion. Also, under your unit, we talked about our fresh tank, that onboard water storage. Well, guess what? We have to have a way to drain that water out because it'll become stagnant over time, right? We don't want to leave that water in there for a long period of time. It adds extra weight, it becomes stagnant, all that stuff. You're gonna see a handle somewhere either on the side or further underneath your unit. That will lead to a white valve under there. Let's see if we can get an eye on it. See that one right there? That will drain your fresh tank. So drain that out every so often. Make sure we're putting fresh water in there. That way we don't run any issues with bad water on our system. So this particular unit has a residential fridge. Jayco does put a big compartment on the back to be able to gain access for service on that unit. Also have our water line for our ice maker on there as well. So just something you may or may not have on your unit. As we move back over or further up our unit, we'll start in the front. Our third propane tank right there we talked about. Over here we have that GFCI outlet for our exterior. So this will be the same for all these GFCI outlets. You're going to have multiples throughout your unit. If it is ever tripped, you are going to see, and we can duplicate by hitting that test button right there, you'll see a red light and this top reset button is going to be pushed out. To reset it, simply hit that reset button, it'll go back to green. Now what causes that to trip out? Either the outlets got wet or you have too many griddles, coffee pots, anything like that plugged in, and we have overamped that system. So we want to check, unplug some of those items or check to make sure that the outlets aren't wet. Otherwise, as soon as you reset it, it's going to trip again. So make sure you're checking all those things first. Over here to the side, we have satellite and TV cable outputs here as well. Satellite is going to be coming from our inputs over there, or roof satellite if we have one installed. TV and cable out of this port right here. And then no real hidden panels right here, but we're also in there going to see our lipper leveling board, control board right there. Nothing in particular you need to know about it, just that's what it is, right? As we flip around here, we're going to have our road vac system. It'll come with a vacuum line and everything that you can hook up either right here or on the interior of your unit and vacuum your unit. Turn it off and on right here. If we turn it on, we can of course vacuum out here to go ahead and empty it out. Slide this little lever right here down. We can go ahead and open it up, have access to our bag to go ahead and change that out. A little white piece right there is a filter. We want to go ahead and keep clean or change it out when necessary. Put it back in, put the bottom in first. And then top, latch it in right there. Down below that, we have our outdoor JBL radio system for all our outdoor speakers and stuff right there. We can hook to Bluetooth and be able to play radio and everything through there. For our outdoor speaker system, we also have a USB-C port right here at the bottom for charging and another 110 outlet. Over to the right, behind our little access panel here, we can see our Jayco command system. This is the brains for your touchscreen panel. Once again, just know where it is. Don't go messing with it unless you're on the phone with Jayco or BMPro. as far as trying to troubleshoot anything. Hopefully everything is working, you won't ever have to, but it's generally going to be located in this pass-through bay. We're also going to see our Go Power solar controller right there. That is transferring solar power into charging power for our battery system. It's going to be once again located in that pass-through bay. As we move out, we have our solid steps right here. Our solid steps are great. One hand, we can lift them up. You're going to have shocks that help assist you in lifting. Anytime we operate that, we want to make sure our door is completely open and latched in. We want to make sure that this bracket here isn't dragging across our screen and causing any damage. To let it down, go ahead and just pull it down. Now, we always want to auto level our unit first, then we want to come level our steps. We want to make sure we do this because we want a nice flush threshold right here so our door will close properly. And then of course we also want to avoid any contact with the frame of the door to the frame of the steps, causing any damage there. So be very cautious after we auto level our unit. We want to make sure we do our steps. Now how do we do that? I have this little silver lever right here. We push in, and then that will disengage our legs right here. We can move them up and down to go ahead and level out our steps. Our safety rail right here can go in, hit it there at the bottom, have a pin here. We pull that out, stick it through the hole to lock it in for travel. Pull it out, you pull that pin out, grab it here, and now we have our safety rail. The other thing we have up top is we are pre-wired for a security camera. Basically, it's a backup camera. We have an on-off switch in our bedroom that we can turn that off and on and monitor it from the interior of our unit. Let's talk about our awning next. One button, extend and retract on here, 12 volts to power it. You're also gonna have 12-volt awning lights up there as well. When we run it out, we run it all the way out, and when we stop is when that little flap comes out right there, and that's it. If you hold that extend button down, it will roll up with the tube up top. So if you hit extend and it's rolling up, and retract and it's rolling out, you need to go ahead and roll it out until this actually comes out like this, and make sure we hit retract and extend properly. Seen a lot of people make that mistake before, come in and say my awning's backwards, right? Pretty easy fix. Now our awning is a sunshade mainly. It'll shield you from a little bit of rain, but it's not intended to be out during storms and stuff like that. You'll get a little drizzle, you'll get some dew, residual water from your AC condensation, stuff like that. All that needs to run off of our awning. Both of our awnings, however many you may have on your unit, are going to have the same arms on the front and the back. You decide which one you want to tilt, and easy enough, you just grab the handle right here, pull it down, and now our awning is tilted towards the rear. Water can now run off of here and not puddle on our awning. If we allow it to puddle, it can collapse, causing damage. High winds, heavy rains can also cause damage. If you're leaving your unit for an extended period of time, I suggest rolling it in so you don't have to worry about it. Besides that, you can go ahead and hit that extend button, or retract button rather, and roll that awning in and store it whenever you're done. Let's go check out the inside. So as we go to the inside, you're generally going to run into your touchscreen panel. That is your BMPro touchscreen panel. All these are going to vary based on the floor plan of your unit, but we're going to go ahead and go over the generic setup of this right now. All right, so this is our BMPro system right here. You got a touch panel. Touch it, it wakes it up. So we have our home screen right here. Our home screen is shortcuts, okay? So we're gonna have our main AC system right here. We can turn off and on, a couple of lights. We can go straight to our tanks, energy, quick start is checklist of different things. All just your main stuff right there. So just a little bit of information on this. It's an Android tablet. We hit that middle button right there. It'll bring us to our regular home screen that you would have on Android, right? So it's actually a BMPro app that's downloaded on there. We can go ahead and just click on that. That'll bring up our screen. So whenever we go into these shortcuts, it'll bring us into a different menu, give us what we have for these items. So if we want to go back to that main home screen, we hit home. So let's thumb through these menus. Talked about it, the shortcut gives you all that. All of that can be covered in all of these as well. You have your water pump right here. That water pump is, once again, that 12-volt water pump that's going to pull from our fresh tank supply to all our fixtures. Just click it, turns it on, and it illuminates, letting you know that it is on. We also have our 2 gray tank levels and our black tank on this one. You may have multiple black tanks instead of multiple grays. You may have a single gray tank and black tank. Just depends on your floor plan, right? Nothing else. You always want to kind of scroll up and check each screen to see if there's any other options below, but nothing else as far as the water is concerned. Here is our leveling right here. This would be the main screen. So outside we have the keypad, and that keypad we can do a few controls there, but this we can go ahead and do it from here as well. So if we want to auto level from the inside, we click auto level right there. The status will change to auto leveling. When it's idle, that means everything is still and done. If we want to go ahead and make some adjustments to the front, left, right, or rear, we can do that from here as well. If we want to retract all of our jacks, we can do that from here as well. Individual jack control, this would bring us to our front left, our front right, and our rear left. Once again, idle meaning we're sitting still, and it'll change if we go to activate that one jack. It will say level in progress. If we go back right here to leveling, we have that main screen that we were just at. As I mentioned as well, it will come up with error codes right here as far as, you know, maybe your jacks need to be rehoned or something needs to be done. It will pop up with an error code, and it'll actually give you that information. It'll give you a few little signs on what to do. If you haven't figured it out, you can Google it or look in the owner's manual. It gives you a lot of information when it comes to these leveling systems, and some information as far as what to do to fix some of those. We also have a few videos on the LCI systems too, just nothing on the touch screen in particular. Here we have slide outs. We have awnings, all that can be controlled right here. But the bigger question is, what happens if my touch screen goes out? Well, all that can be done right here as well. You have A1, A2, you have slide out 1, slide out 2, slide out 3, extend and retract. So if something ever happens to this, there is redundancy. Same thing for all of our lights. We'll notice the keypads around our unit that can turn all our lights off and on our unit as well. Going to here, we have our thermostat for our main AC, which is our living room, and our second AC, which is our bedroom. So both of these are going to be the same as far as functionality. We turn it on. We can go ahead and adjust our temperature right here. We have our actual room temperature right there. We have our mode. Our mode is cool, cool auto, fan, and heat. Now our other AC in our bedroom is only going to be just cool and auto cool. We'll notice that there's no heat on that one. Heat is only going to be for the single furnace that we have in our unit. Unless we have multiple ones, we're only going to have one heat option in here, and that'll be based off of our main living room area. So cool, put it on cool. We adjust our temperature. We can go ahead and adjust our fan speed, high or low. We put it on cool auto. That will keep our fan on auto. So that means that fan will shut off and on rather than just be on high or low as we set it earlier. If we want just the fan to be on, we can go ahead and do that here. And once again, we can do low and high. Now it's not going to cool the air off, it's just going to circulate the air throughout the unit. If we want heat, we click on that. Our furnace will go ahead and kick in when the appropriate temperature sets in. And there is no fan speed. You can hit off or low, it doesn't matter. There's no fan speed for the furnace. It only has one furnace setting. Now we'll also notice that the air comes out of our ceiling vents for cool and fan, everything to do with the AC. Heat is going to come out of our vents down along the floor line. So we'll have those vents below cabinets and stuff like that. That is where the hot air is coming from, not the rooftop. So just be aware of that. On our lights, same thing. We have all these lights right here. Guess what? This turns off our interior lights and turns them on. This does our exterior lights, and this does both interior and exterior. So once again, if those lights go out, we can take care of that right here. Our next one is our sensors. So with BMPro, we can add sensors. You can purchase the tire pressure sensors a propane sensor, and it will give you your tire pressure, to give you your propane level. You can do an exterior temperature sensor. All that stuff can be added on here if your system doesn't already come with that. Some trim models do. Last one is our battery and fuel level. If this was a toy hauler, we'd have fuel level on here. We have our battery level right there, 13.1. That means we're charging. We have our solar. That would be the voltage coming in from our solar and the current being used. And then we also have our solar temperature. Solar history tells you right here the amp hours, as well as our total power generation off our solar, and then total operating time as well. We can go ahead and clear that history right there and reset it if we wish. So going back to the main screen, we also have a settings button right here up top. Now this is Bluetooth connected to this panel right here. This screen is Bluetooth connected to here. We can also Bluetooth it to our phone, downloading the BMPro app. And in order to do that, we download that app. We go to PA right here, hit extend. This will begin to flash, and we can go ahead and sync it up with our phone, and it'll give you those instructions on your phone as well. Remote connection is a free account. You can create that with BMPro, and if you have Wi-Fi linked up on your camper, wherever you're at, you log into that same account on your phone, and you can activate these items from your phone from afar rather than Bluetooth. Like Bluetooth is right next to the unit, the Wi-Fi is from anywhere, right? So you have to create that account, and as long as you have Wi-Fi, you'll be able to log that in and do it. We hit that back button for anything in the settings menu to back up. Our WineGuard system would be our router system. If we were to get that gateway Wi-Fi system, we can go ahead and enter all that information in there. We have our sensor settings. This would be, once again, for all of our tire pressures, our temperatures, so on and so forth. We can make those adjustments for when those triggers go off. Our battery levels are for all of those wall switches that we talked about. We'll see here in a little while. This tells you that our battery level is okay in these items. And if we want to remove any of these wall switches or repair them, we can do that here. We have no tire pressure sensors on this one, but if you got one, we would go ahead and see that pop up right here as far as what our battery levels are. Moving on, we have motor settings. Our motor settings is our 0 point for our jacks. So 0 point is if your unit is flat level, that is your 0 point, okay? So if we need to set our 0 point, because for whatever reason, every time we auto level, our unit is off, then we want to come in here and we want to hit set. Once we have our unit leveled out, we'll hit start, and then we can level it, and then we hit set once our unit is zeroed out. We have some videos that go over that. Once again, not touchscreen, but it gives you the basics, and you can figure it out from here on your touchscreen on what to do. Last is owner or user manual. That's only going to pop up, of course, if you are connected to Wi-Fi, because that would be internet. Same thing for about system. We have preferences that'll go into Celsius or Fahrenheit, PSI or KPA for our air and our tires, and then you have a diagnostics if we need to do any troubleshooting. If you are trying to repair this to the system, this all goes back to that hub we saw in the pass-through. You would go ahead and hit your Bluetooth right here to reconnect that if for whatever reason it was out. If we want to hook up to Wi-Fi and stuff, and then we can click right here, connect to an open Wi-Fi, search for the Wi-Fi that we want in the area, and connect this whole screen to the internet. Now, like I said, this is an Android tablet, so there are other apps and stuff usable on here. If your system's ever lagging, hit that square button right there, and then you can actually close these apps out. You can close that BMPro app out. If you're connected to the internet, you can go into Google Chrome. There's a calculator on here, different stuff, right? So you can use it like a regular tablet if you wish. It is not necessarily detachable, so just kind of keep that in mind. Biggest thing to know is you can close that app out and restart it if you're ever having any lagging difficulties. There is a button, a little bitty hole right up under this arrow button right here, paper clip or anything you can put in there that will actually reset and power that system down. If we go to OF right here, that actually shuts off the system when you hit extend right there. And that's pretty much the gist of our BMPro system. Now, BMPro does a great job. They have a great website, and they also have a YouTube channel. If you go to BMPro on YouTube, you can find their channel, or you can go to their website, teambmpro.com. and has a ton of videos that goes into further depth and gives you some more diagnostics on here. Not going to redo all those videos. They've already done it. They've already got it, and they did a great job at it. So that wraps up everything for our touch panel there. So on this particular unit, we do have a fan in here, has a remote. You're either going to have this or you're going to have just an on-off button for your fan. That fan is 110 operated. It's only going to work if you are plugged in, running off a generator, or have your inverter on. Generally, somewhere in the midsection of your unit, you're going to notice your 110 and 12 volt fuse panel right here. If we flip it down, we're going to see everything's nicely labeled in here as far as what they go to. 12 volt fuse panel controlling things like your lights, your furnace, your awnings, stuff like that. All that can be found right here. And then these fuses off to the side are going to be for your converter. That converter is basically your battery charger. When you are plugged in or running your generator, it is going to be charging your batteries, changing that 110 power to 12 volt charging power, keep those batteries charged up for you. If your converter is not working, you want to go ahead and check these fuses first. They're generally polarity fuses or over amperage. So we want to check, make sure that those are working first before we assume that our converter is bad. I have a little blinking light in there with a button. That button is to change from lithium to lead acid batteries. If you change out from the factory or whatever, want to make sure we have the proper setting in there so the charging is correct. For our 110, once again, everything is labeled in there. We're going to notice all our 110 breakers. If you happen to have a 30 amp service on this type of unit, which I don't believe they have for the North Points, you're going to see 30 amp breakers instead of the 50 amp. And of course, it would differ in how much you can actually run on your unit. But anytime you have any 12 volt or 110 issues, this is the first place that you want to go to. Now, you're also going to have main breakers on your power pole where you're plugged in as well. So if nothing's tripped here, you might want to check that power pole next. As we move into our living room on this particular unit, we're going to see our sound bar, our fireplace, and of course our TV. We'll take a look at our fireplace first. It is going to be 110 powered. Hit that power button right there. It is not going to turn the heater on right away. You can just have it on for ambiance. We can change the color with our little flame button right there. If we do want heat, we hit the little wavy button right there. Heat will come on. It will give us our temperature. We can change that temperature from 64 to, was it 86, I think, or we can just have it on. That heat will go ahead and constantly run and not go off of that thermostat. If we want a timer, we can go ahead and hit our timer right here, 1 hour all the way up to 8, and then it will go to the off position. Turn that furnace off and on. We can go ahead, just click that button, and it will go to the off position, whether it's temperature, on, whatever. Want to go ahead and turn the entire system off, hit that power button, it'll shut off. Generally comes with a remote. It's going to have the same kind of buttons on it in order to operate it. We have our TV right here, generally going to have a safety latch on it. Want to make sure that that's on during travel so we don't have any damage. So on the back of here, we're going to see, as we gain access to it, we're going to see a little light on our cable input right here. So same thing, we're going to have cable and antenna run through here and satellite run through here. This is the only cable port throughout your unit that's going to have that little light. What that is an antenna booster. That green light means your antenna booster is on. So if you don't have cable wherever you're at, you want to scan for antenna channels, you want to make sure that light is on so it boosts that antenna and you're able to pick up more channels in your area. Now, if we're searching for cable channels, we want that button off and that light off. That way we are not scrambling the channels that we are trying to search for through cable. Neither one, whether off or on, it does not affect your satellite signal. Completely different. This port will come out to your receiver on your satellite and then out with a HDMI to your TV. This particular unit, we have our couches, table, stuff like that. You're going to see wireless charging throughout your unit. If you pop them up, you're going to see a USB port generally on there as well to plug it in. You're also going to see redundancy throughout your unit. If your touchscreen is ever not working, we talked about that, you're going to have redundancy on these panels to be able to turn lights off and on. As we move through our unit, we have our 110 fridge, residential fridge, going to work like any other one at the house, right? We have our temperature controls on the inside. It's only going to operate anytime we're plugged into 110. Now, thing to remember on these is anytime you're not plugged in, your freezer is going to defrost, right? This goes for outdoor fridges as well. Anytime you're going to store your unit unplugged, we want to make sure we defrost this, get all the water out, wipe it all down. Same thing with our fridge. Reduce the risk for mold and mildew, and also reduce the opportunity for water to drip out and damage any of our wood components around our unit. Manufacturers are not going to participate on that, and that includes making sure we empty out our ice tray as well. So add that to your list of to-dos. We have pantry over here to the side. We have the redundant controls for more lights and stuff here. We're also going to see another GFCI controlled outlet with our 2 buttons on there. We're going to see our max air fan, which is for our kitchen right here. We can turn that off and on with 4 speeds, just hitting that button right there. Vent open to open it, to close it, and then fan off to turn that off. 110 microwave, we're going to have a little vent on here to be able to go ahead and ventilate air out. We're going to have our oven right here, residential style oven, going to be propane. So our propane tanks need to be on in order for this to operate, obviously. And anytime we pull our unit out of storage, generally our tanks were off, right? So when that happens, propane dissipates out of line, you're going to end up with air in your system. I always tell customers anytime you pull your unit out of storage, turn your propane on, come over here and light your stove first. Things like your water heater, whether it's tanked or tankless, and your furnace are both going to operate off of propane, but they will go into a fault if you have air in your system. It's going to go through a number of tries trying to ignite it, where this is a manual ignite. So we want to come here and avoid the fault on those appliances before we turn them on. We come over to our stove top, pick our burner, turn it to high, and push that button in. You'll hear the gas flow coming out, and it's going to take a little while for that to light. So you just keep holding it down until it lights and you purge the air out of that system. Once it lights, let it run for about 30 to 60 seconds till you have a nice blue flame on there. And then we're pretty certain that we've burned all the air out of that system, okay? So once we've done that, air is purged out, we're ready to go, and that's how you operate your stovetop. As for your oven, going to be pretty similar. Only thing is you're not going to see your flame too well. Your burner tube's down there at the bottom. We're going to go ahead and hold this one down. We're going to turn it to our flame light, push it down and ignite, and we're waiting for that pilot to light under there. Now, being as we can't see it, after the first time we lit it, shouldn't take more than about 10-15 seconds for that pilot to light. Then we can go ahead and turn to our temperature. We should see our burner tube ignite down there at the bottom and then start heating our unit. Now, if it's the first time we're lighting our oven after we've burned the air out of our stovetop, it's still going to take a little bit of time, so be patient to purge that air out, and eventually it will light and you'll be good to go. Once it's done, once again, turn to that temperature and you're good to go. Do have knob lights on here, oven lights, 12 volts to operate all those lights on there as well. Not much else to go over in our kitchen area. You have your cup washer, your soap dispenser, your fancy sink, all that stuff. You can put cutting boards and different attachments on that sink. You can have a little pop-up for your 110 center right here on this particular one. Not all of them are going to have that. If you don't see a USB port on here, it just generally has that 110 outlet that you go ahead and pop out of there. USB options on there as well. Now we're going to notice on our unit, we're also going to have smoke detectors in here, just like your house, powered by a 9-volt battery. We need to check that battery around daylight savings, change it out, test the alarm on there, and make sure it's working properly. They do have a 10-year life on them. Want to change those out after 10 years. Down below, generally in your kitchen or living room area, you're going to have a COLP detector. That is to pick up those cautious gases and alert you if they are leaking in your unit. They do have a test alarm on here. You want to check and make sure that alarm is working. And then, of course, we're going to notice a little green light on here letting us know it is powered up. It's hardwired into our 12-volt system, so as far as power, it's always going to be on. And we want to make sure that we notice they have an expiration date on them as well, generally for 5 to 6 years. And we want to change that out when that date comes around as well to make sure that it is working properly and in good standard to keep us safe. As we move through our unit, we'll jump into our bathroom. Oh, back up. Talked about our AC systems. We have our thermostats. You'll see these little black pieces right here. These are thermostats. That's what's actually reading your room temperature throughout your unit. So you'll notice that in there. In our shower, hot, cold, you're going to have an on-off button up there up top if you want to shut that shower off there. That way you don't have to mess with your hot and cold if you're dry camping. People generally do that to conserve water in your gray tank. That way you're not putting a ton of water in there and you don't have to fiddle with the hot cold every time you turn that shower off and on. Have our toilet right there. Toilet operates with our pedal right here on the side to open our valve and dump down into our black tank. Now what are we putting in our toilet? Number 1 and number 2, right? Liquids and solids. Our liquids, we can just hit that pedal, flush it, send it down the drain. Our solids, we want to make sure we just barely push that pedal, and before that ball valve opens up, our water will start to fill that bowl. Want to fill that bowl about half to 3/4 of the way and then flush it. That way we have enough water to push those solids all the way down into the tank. We don't run into any clogging issues. Now, as I said before, you can go ahead and fill your tank with water through here. We always put our chemicals through here. That way that'll help degrade the water and degrade the elements in that system. And then, like I said before, always make sure we have water in that tank. Not much else to go over in here besides we have a fan up top. We want to use that when we're showering and stuff to help reduce the risk for mold and mildew and reduce the humidity in here. Generally going to have access to your hoses and fittings and stuff in here. Want to check, make sure those fittings are nice and tight. We're not having any dripping or water leakage throughout our unit. Move into our bedroom, and we're going to see a TV in the front right here. Same thing, cable satellite inputs over there on the back side. We're going to see our register for our AC system right here. On this particular one, it's going to be on the sides because we can't see our ceiling assembly, right? Our ceiling assembly is non-existent on this one, so that means our return is going through here. We do have filters. These snap out. Want to check those filters and make sure we are cleaning them and we're not reducing the airflow to our AC. It can work efficiently. Now our AC, as we might have mentioned, all is going to come out of our rooftop vents right here, all throughout our unit. Now let me show you, since this one doesn't have a ceiling assembly, we do have a ceiling assembly in our living room. We notice these vents right here on the side. Those can be open and closed. If they're open, it's in quick dump mode. That is dumping cold air just in this living room area. If we close them, now air will run through those ducts in the ceiling. If we leave them open, that air is generally not going to run through those ducts except for our front AC system. There are filters right here on the side for this one. On both sides, want to check those too and make sure they are clean. On our rear AC, that one's our middle. That one's generally added on and going to have a ceiling assembly. Our rear one, once again, no ceiling assembly. We have those return ducts. Want to clean the filters on that regularly as well. Our furnace filters are always going to be low. Our furnace air, our hot air, is going to come out of those floor ducts right there. Our bed, the Schwintek slide, we talked about it. You're generally going to have storage under your bed. If we lift it up, we can see a bunch of our little attachments and stuff right there. Attachment for our vacuum system and everything right there as well. Talked about that. Back up to our ceiling real quick. We are pre-wired for our gateway system from LineGuard. If we add that in there, we can have 5G with us wherever we go, or use it as a Wi-Fi router and pick up Wi-Fi and extend it throughout our camper if we have Wi-Fi at the campground. Over to the side, we're going to see another thermostat, redundant controls, and of course our 12-volt security camera. We can turn that little camera above our entry door off and on when we want to activate it. In our closet off to the side, you're generally going to be prepped for a washer-dryer hookup. See your outlets right there. We see our water outlets right there, our drain port, and then that's where you would put your dryer vent. So you can have that upgrade for your washer-dryer system already on your unit. Then of course closet space and stuff like that, depending on the layout of your unit. So we talked about the vacuum attachments, but I didn't talk about the vacuum on the inside, right? So let's duck down somewhere in your unit. You're gonna see this little IntelliVac right here. Pull that little yellow sticker off and you can stick your hose in there and it will immediately activate your vacuum cleaner and you can vacuum throughout your unit. If you sweep, you can sweep everything over here. Flip that up, When you flip that up, sweep your dust and debris in there and it'll suck it all into that vacuum cleaner that's in that front storage bay. That wraps up everything on our North Point. If you got any questions, leave it down in the comments section. Hope this helped you learn a little bit better about the Jayco North Point and how it operates. Thanks for watching here at Great American RV, where we bring the how-to to you.
Well, we hope you found that resourceful, but wait, there's more information on our Great American RV YouTube channel. This channel right here, find the playlist Hap's Helpful Hacks. We go over different products in this unit and we'll take a deeper dive with more diagnostics, more information, as well as helpful tips when you're out camping. Tell your buddies, tell your friends, like, share, subscribe, do all those awesome things on YouTube, TikTok, wherever you found us, and keep watching here at Great American RV Superstores, where we bring the how-to you.